Yo, what's going on? This is Ill Bill, the Chill with Bill show. Yo, we're going to do a live reaction right here to the lead attorney as he's breaking down the current case about this crazy woman that had sex with a 13-year-old boy, got pregnant, and got off in more ways than one. Let's hear about it.
What we got. So let's see what we got.
31-year-old Fountain woman who police say had sexually assaulted a 13-year-old boy is avoiding prison time.
Prosecutors offered her a plea deal even after she gave birth to a baby conceived with the teen. KRDO News Channel 13 Spencer.
Okay, so we already starting off bad. This lady is a teacher and got pregnant by one of these students and has already had the baby. The baby's
So, teacher, student, verified.
out. Let's keep going.
Oyster joins us live from the El Paso County Courthouse where that plea deal was taken. And Spencer, the mother of that boy, is furious about the deal.
Martin Heather, Andrea Serrano pleaded guilty to an amended charge of incest, though the 13-year-old boy's mother says that they have absolutely no relation. She said she objected to this plea deal when the DA's office showed it to her. Still, it didn't matter, and it appears Serrano is going to avoid prison time.
All right, so let me just stop right there. The DA's office reached a plea deal with this woman for incest of all things, and then showed the plea deal to the mom and was like, hey, look what we're going to do. And the mom was like, hell no, she objected. They did it anyway. Let's go.
There's no blood relation. There should be no, incest charge being allowed.
Originally charged with sexual assault on a child, Andrea Serrano is avoiding prison time. She struck a deal, pleading guilty to incest only. The boy's mother is upset with that deal because police say Serrano gave birth to a child she conceived with the 13-year-old.
And let me just stop right here just to make it crystal clear, guys. This 13-year-old boy is a victim. He is a victim. He is a child. And she opted to have this baby. She could have aborted. No, she wanted to have this kid. Let's go.
Some have been a little girl, and this has been a 31-year-old man. They would be seeking incarceration, which they are not.
They wouldn't even be seeking it. There would be nothing nobody could do to stop it. He would be going straight to jail. Nothing. And you know what? To be clear, right? Girls, 16, 17 years old, man, these little punks from houses with no fathers, man, these little girls will get fake IDs. They will go get their home girl to let them borrow their ID. They be in the clubs drinking, lying to the dudes, doing all this stuff. Could lie until they get caught up by somebody, right? And then all of a sudden it's, and then he's going straight to jail. I don't care how old you are. She could be 17, he's 18, he's going to jail. This is crazy.
They realize that boy or girl, this is going to follow him for the rest of his life.
KRDO is concealing the identity of the boy's mother because her son is a victim of a sex crime. In May of last year, Fountain police claim Serrano admitted to them she was drunk when she had sex with the 13-year-old boy in her car.
Wait a minute. Wait, did y'all hear that? Listen. What I tell you, this is sick. All right. This is not funny. But it's funny. I mean, she got drunk and had sex with this boy in her car. Probably because she was married. We ain't even gonna go there. All right. Let's bring it back up. Hold up. Let's go. Just so we can all hear this roguish Section 8 activity.
In May of last year, Fountain police claim Serrano admitted to them she was drunk when she had sex with the 13-year-old boy in her car and then was carrying his child. The boy's mother said she told the district attorney's office she was not okay with this plea deal.
It's not necessarily uncommon.
Legal expert Jeremy Lowe says giving someone a charge they aren't guilty of is not abnormal.
Oftentimes there's plea bargains that get people to what's called essentially fictional pleas.
But the mother says the boy wanted her prosecuted too and believes a fictional plea shouldn't be offered.
I feel like she's getting a slap on the wrist for a crime that shouldn't be taken lightly.
A slap on the wrist. All right, guys. So there's about 30 seconds left of this video, but we all got the gist of it. All right. So you got a 13-year-old boy having sex with his teacher in a car, and she's drunk, Who knows if he's drunk?
All you got to do is flip the male female, and this wouldn't even be a story because he would be locked up so fast the news reporters wouldn't even know what hit him, right? Why does this get to happen?
And guys, let me be honest. You know that this was not the first time. It's not like they just had sex one time in that car, right? So Arturo, you know, what are your impressions on this case? Just, you know, before we dive deep into it, what are your just general impressions? Have you seen anything like this or heard anything like this? You know, what are some of the things that come to your mind when
before he even talks about it? Yes, we've seen things like this, and yes, we've heard things like this. One little boy, he I don't know if it's already happened. Yeah, he had discussed up paying child support for a baby that was had by a woman that had sex with him when he was a minor. Like, child support? For real? That's how you know that this is a corrupt ass system and state. It's about the money. It ain't about nothing but money and politics.
you hear something like this?
Sure, we've seen this many times. It's not a new phenomenon. Probably the oldest and most famous case in this genre, I guess, for lack of a better term, is the Mary Kay Letourneau case out of Florida. That's going to be 20 years ago. But I've got to tell you, my first impressions about this case is we have yet to find out the real facts behind this case. I guarantee you there's a lot more going on here than we're going to get out of a local TV news report. They probably got many things wrong, actually, but the district attorney is not talking.
How does it even matter? Like, just the basics of the case. Why the facts don't even, like, I hate to say it, but like, they don't even matter. If there was intercourse between a 31-year-old man and a 13-year-old girl, nobody would care about the facts of the case, of what night, how many times, where it was at, whether alcohol was involved. Nobody would give a damn about any of that. None of that. So I don't understand why we care about the facts of the case right now.
And that's because it hasn't happened yet. But I feel like when we finally hear from the DA, when we get some behind the scenes information, there are going to be some very key details that are going to come out that might just change some people's minds about how this case is being.
How? Unless he put a gun to her head while they were doing the wild thing. Okay. I mean, he's a 13-year-old boy. She can't feel threatened. She's a grown woman, a teacher. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about right now? Maybe he got King Kong in the trunk. Maybe he's a Andre the Giant looking ass kid, and she was just in fear for her life because of his prowess at 13. I don't care.
Being dealt with. Here's what I have in mind. I think we're going to find out that this young man was living with this woman, the defendant, for several weeks for some reason. There must be a reason why he wasn't living with his own mother in his own home at age 13. Why was he living with the defendant? Why had it been going on for so long?
Does that matter? Does that matter? A 13-year-old girl runs away from home and lives with a 31-year-old man for 3 months and she gets pregnant. Does it matter? Does it matter? Does it matter if the parents kicked her out or if she ran away and just stole the car? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. It's never mattered. So why would it matter now?
What was going on there in the background? Another thing is, as the legal expert on the news clip said, there are many times prosecutors and defense attorneys have to make a deal, or they choose to make a deal because it's going to be much smoother a process. Think about
exactly, right? So it's about how easy their job is. And yes, it's easy to throw a man in prison for having sex with a minor. And apparently it's not easy to throw a woman in prison for having sex with a minor. Are you worried about the public outcry? I don't understand. Who's crying out in favor for this woman?
Trauma that would be compounded on this young man if this case went to trial.
What?
And he,
The trauma that would be compounded on this young man, this 13-year-old, versus the now 18 years of raising a child, or 18 plus years potential of child support. The fact that he is now a father at 13 years old, and God knows what that does to your psyche. What are you talking about?
to testify in front of a jury of 12 strangers about this very, very intimate, very distressing, very traumatic.
Do girls have to do that, is my question. Does a 13-year-old girl have to go and testify in front of 12 strangers about the trauma of the experience and all this and that? Because if a 13-year-old girl, a little 13-year-old girl, has to go through all that and come out the other end in order for the dude to go to jail, well, then by all means, put that little brother on the stand. Okay? He's 13 years old. What makes her more, a 13-year-old girl more capable than him? And if she doesn't have to do that, because I don't know all the laws, but if she doesn't have to do that, then where's the double standard? Why would he?
Explain. Event in his life. I think that there's understandable some joking that's going to happen anytime you see that the victim is a boy, because we have this kind of tradition that, you know, men are the macho ones, the ones seeking out sex, and that.
How are you macho at 13 years old? It doesn't matter. Yeah, we men joke about it, and yeah, you know, kids, boys will joke about it. He's 13 years old. For all intents and purposes, he shouldn't even have lost his virginity yet. So what the hell are we talking about?
That women are the ones that are most preyed upon. And there's some truth behind that. You've got to remember that the majority of the sex crimes that are laws in the United States came out of a tradition of deep, deep disrespect of women. And we've got to start deconstructing the structural misogyny in laws. I don't think that this woman is.
I can't believe he's even talking about this right now. I can't even talk. So because of the deep, deep-rooted structure of misogynistic laws is the reason why this kid is now a 13-year-old father, and this woman goes home and watches Netflix and chills.
Is a woman who belongs in prison. And we can talk about that in more detail.
Wait a minute. Well, okay. All right. Guys, listen. This is my brother. I love him. This is my former law partner. He on some bullshit. Okay. You don't think she should be in prison?
I do not.
Okay. Obviously, guys, we have not talked.
Arturo, what the hell is his name? Arturo Buster Gorsey something. This is crazy.
About this. But this is going to be a great conversation. Go ahead.
You have to allow for the idea that we can be outraged and we can be disgusted and we can condemn the behavior of this woman, the defendant. But that does not necessarily mean that the only solution is prison. We have too many Americans in prison.
Hold on a second. We have too many Americans in prison. Is this what we're saying? So if men go out and do this, we got too many Americans in prison, so they shouldn't have to go to prison. Is that what he's saying right now? Or, I mean, I'm so lost and in shock and disbelief that this man would even say this right now. She would be one of very few examples of ever made of women being held accountable for this craziness. She would be one of a very minute amount of women held accountable for this mess. And he's saying that, no, we shouldn't be locking people up. Get this clown out of here.
And what I hear at the beginning of your show, when you're talking about how, you know, anyone else in this situation, if the roles were reversed, that person would be underneath the jail. But is that what we want? Do we want to perpetuate?
Stop it. Yes, that is what we want. That is what we want. We don't want other women, crazies in school, thinking they can have sex with 13-year-old boys, have their babies, lock them in, And it's all good. That is what we don't want, you clown. Clown world. Clown world. I'm glad you got this guy on here because this is the opposition and what they sound like. This is bullshit.
The racism and the misogyny and the wrongness of our criminal legal system that has plagued minorities and women for so many hundreds of years. Do we think that, oh, well, that's the way it was in the past, so that's the way it should be on? And
somebody need to hit this fool with a big old size 13 clown shoe.
And on and forever. I would say no. We're going to have to be enlightened, and we're going to have to open our minds that there's a difference between how you punish a crime in the legal system and how you address it in society.
Okay, all right. Listen, you make some valid points. And
no, he made some points. They're not valid. Come with this bullshit when it's a man. Come with this bullshit when it's a man and it's a 13-year-old little girl. And then let's hear it. Because you won't. Because you know your house will get burnt down.
And guys,
you saying this because you know you can right now.
Let me just say in the chat, he is a criminal defense attorney. All right. It's super.
Yeah, he was probably that woman's criminal defense attorney. And that's why she gets to go home.
Passionate, super idealistic. Right. And so we're gonna be talking about some of this stuff.
I mean, what do you want, Lead? Do you want this lady to be tried as if she was a black man? Would that
100%. 100%. Period.
That be fair? A motion to treat this woman as a black male, take him to trial, and heap upon her all of the biases that people have suffered for centuries. Or should we look in a
No, or yes, 100%. Treat her exactly the way that a man who is falsely accused, who has not done this, gets treated. Treat her exactly the way that a dude who strictly under allegations, what happens to him? Treat her that way. Why? Because she did it. And now you're saying it's okay for women to just do it, to just willy-nilly. It's all good.
In a more forward way, why did this woman do this? Why was this child in her custody?
I'm sorry to keep stopping this, but you would not be asking these questions if it was a dude. You would be like, he's up, mental problems, give this dude some pills and stick him in a cell.
Hey, did she have a backup trial strategy to declare that he raped her? You know,
bro,
as a 13-year-old. Let's say let me just jump into. Let's say grape instead of the R word, because for algorithm purpose, just say grape. But yeah.
Okay. Grape is legally defined as the penetration of the female sex organ by the male sex organ. In other words, by definition, you cannot grape a man.
Yeah, we're going to talk all about this. Now let's go through it slow, because I also have an article.
I assume he's right. Obviously, he's got his law degree, so he knows what the hell he's talking about. And it makes sense, right, that the laws would be written this way because they were written hundreds of years ago. And we don't update laws, even though our society's completely effed up.
Article here which talks a little bit about some of the stuff that you were saying. So let me pull it up here, and we're going to go through this kind of step by step. And so you listen, y'all hear how a criminal defense attorney kind of views the situation. But to be fair, he was also a prosecutor, so he's seen it on both sides. I will say that I do not agree with this at all.
Is he a father? That's what I would like to know. Is he a father, and do you have boys or girls? Because it sounds to me like if you had a boy, you would allow this shit and be okay with it.
Do I want her sentenced as a black man? Well, if black men are sentenced in ways that are fair, then yes. Some are, some aren't, right? You've represented
She shouldn't be sentenced in a way that's fair. There's nothing fair about having sex with a 13-year-old. Like, what's fair? What do you mean? Again, it's not like he showed up to the bar, driving a Benz, flashing a fake ID, bought her some drinks, took her back to his hotel, and he just so happened to be underage. That is not what happened here in any capacity.
a lot of black men who've gotten good deals. All right. So it's not like every single one there, but there are some other cases where obviously race plays a part.
On the large part, black men are treated extremely unfairly in the criminal legal system. And my point in making that remark about treating her as if she was a black male, my point is to expose the inherent prejudices and biases in the system.
No, you know what? Your point is to deflect the entire conversation, because you could have said treat her like a white male, because those guys get fucked up in this situation too. It doesn't matter if you're black or white. You have sex with the minor, it's over with you. So why did you even have to do that? It's because he wants to change the.
Oh, don't misunderstand me. I am not praising this woman's conduct. Her conduct is repugnant. And it is just that she be publicly humiliated and ostracized. And it is just that she never be allowed to be around young people again.
But unfortunately, that's not what has happened, because she has full custody of the child, right? So I just don't understand how he could say this, how he can even say this with a straight face. Look at you. You look like you know what I mean.
But you don't know what it is to go to prison. I mean, that is some heavy.
Actually, many of us do. You talking to a black man on the panel right here who is known as the lead attorney. And I promise you, I know a thing or two.
Heavy punishment. And I think the punishment should fit the crime. There was not a murder here.
Oh my God.
Why should we put her in jail and throw away the key?
Why should we put any men who have sex with underage women in jail and throw away the key? That's basically what he just said. You can't, unless you're going to sit here and be a hypocrite. You're basically saying, why should we put any men in jail and throw away the key for having sex with underage girls? That's what he just said. Unless you're a hypocrite. If you're saying, oh, men do it, they should be treated worse. Women do it, they shouldn't. Like, unless you're saying that, then what you're saying is that men shouldn't go to prison for this shit the same way this woman did. Which one is it, bro?
Okay. Now you're making like a straw man argument and saying putting her in jail and throwing away the key, because no one's throwing away the key. But you don't think. Let's do this. Let's go through the article, because the article is going to shed a little bit more light on it. Let me just ask you this: do you think she should get any jail time at all?
Jail time is different than prison time. So yes, I think that jail time may be
I don't know about Colorado, but anything over 364 days, I believe, and you go to prison. It's a year. If you get a year or less, then you spend that year in jail. If you do more than a year, then it's prison. I think, at least where I'm at, I think that's what it is. I'm not sure about Colorado.
Appropriate. It doesn't necessarily rise to the level of prison time. Okay. Prison time is different. Prison time is a different type of institution. They don't have a lot of alternative sentencing measures like we have in the jail system, in the local system, such as work release, such as.
She shouldn't be.
Let me ask you this: how much jail time should she get?
I'd like to know more about her criminal history, but let's say she has no prior criminal history whatsoever, and she's apparently now the mother of a 2-month-old infant. That all plays into it. Not only how much jail she does, but when she does it.
Y'all feel me on this, right? Am I the only one who thinks that this is completely bananas? I mean, I know a bunch of guys have done reaction videos, but they ain't sitting here listening to these two guys and this clown world development over here. I just, bro.
Guys, and listen, as crazy as what my man Arturo is saying,
You know
I
it's
promise
crazy.
you that the judge in this case probably considered some of the same things, which is why she got this no jail time sentence in the first place.
No, she hasn't been sentenced yet. Sentencing will be in May. All she's done is enter a guilty plea to a reduced charge, and that was by agreement of the district attorney. So remember, the district attorney made this deal, meaning it was in the best interest of the state and the victim.
Nope. In the best interest of the state, right? Don't say and the victim, because if it was in the best interest of the victim, you would treat him like a victim. You're not. You're treating him like he's just a man that had sex with a woman in the backseat of a car. That's how he's being treated. If you treated him like a victim, then you would press the full extent of the law on this woman the way that you would do if it was a man. We wouldn't be having this conversation as a man. You know why? You know how I know? Because we don't. Because this kind of thing happens. It happens regularly, unfortunately, and nothing like this has ever been said.
To reduce these charges and
well, theoretically, but we all know that deals are made that are not in the best interest of the state or the victims, and that the judges are there to kind of oversee, because I'm sure you have negotiated some deals that were so good that the judge was like, I'm not going to sign off on this. So just because the state and the defense reaches a deal does not mean that it's in the best interest of the state or the victims, right?
Well, but remember, our criminal legal system is not a justice system, but it.
Oh, right, let's stop right there and let's let that sink in. All right, say that again for the people, because what you just said was
he did just say that. Y'all know it. Y'all know it.
Super profound. Say that again.
Our criminal legal system is not a justice system. What it is an adversarial system, meaning that our founding fathers, when they set up our legal system, they said, we think if both sides go at it and give it their best and are adversaries like gladiators against each other, then all of the truth is going to come out and justice will be done. That's not the way they do it in other countries necessarily, though. That's very unique to the United States.
This is interesting, guys. All right, I'm going to pull this article up and we're going to kind of go through it, because you can already see, and I know some of y'all in the chat are like, hey, you know what Arturo is saying is interested. And some of y'all are like, man, he's also bullshit. So we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it.
Whoever's saying what he's saying is interesting is a damn pedo.
I do want to say that this is a man who handles heavy cases and has worked on both sides of the aisle, so to speak. But let me get to some questions as well. Swing Out Museum says, what kind of plea deal did she get? So we are going to jump on that. We're going to answer that question in a second. It looks like she pled guilty to incest.
Right.
Now, there's some facts in there that, you know, not to jump the gun, but let's just say that she started out being charged with one thing and she ended up pleading guilty to another. You know, maybe
0.9% of the time, that's how it happens.
Why is that? Why is it a person charged with one thing but then pleads guilty to another?
Because the charges initially are brought by the police, law enforcement. And to get ahead in the law enforcement game, you have to have experience. And when you get experience in basic little cases, it's not really counted as a stepping stone for you to rise up. But when you make big cases as a police officer, then you have more cachet, more respect. You get appreciation within your department. And when you go to write an application for a criminal arrest warrant the next time, you brag on yourself. You tell the judge, I've been a law enforcement officer for 10 years. I've executed over 1,000 felony arrests. So it's an incentive. It's in the best interest of the police officer to arrest and bring the highest charge you can bring. Same is true by the district attorneys and the solicitors or the prosecutors. Their game is raised by the more serious charges that they can bring, because then they can force pleas. What they've done here is they told this lady, look, we're going to charge you with child molestation and sexual assault against a person in custody, in your custody. And she was facing up to life in prison. Then they start looking at the case and they're like, she was drunk and he penetrated her.
Oh,
this is crazy. This is crazy, right? Like, where is the line? Where is the line at which a boy cannot consent? Is it 13? Obviously not. Is it 12, 11, 10, 9? Like, where is the line to where he gets treated as a minor?
come on. He being a child, though, a child
who is legally unable to give consent.
Mm-hmm.
But you wouldn't deny that a 13-year-old male is able to commit the offense of rape.
Correct. I would.
So he is capable of the crime. And Colorado law, just like many other states, including Georgia, Colorado law says when you have intercourse with someone who is legally intoxicated, unable to give their own legal consent, then you have committed a rape.
This is cap right here. Colorado, if this is your laws, get the fuck out. Like, are you kidding me? So, because her lawyer told her, well, if you say that you were drunk, then you aren't able to consent either. And then even though that he's 13, he could have potentially taken advantage of you, and that muddies the case so we can get them to drop all kinds. This is bullshit.
Oh, did y'all see what he did? Oh, did y'all see what he did? See, these damn criminal defense attorneys. Listen to what he did, because I'll be honest, I didn't consider this. What he's saying is like, listen, guys, there was a plea deal, and in the vast majority of cases, there are plea deals. And one of the reasons that there are plea deals is because sometimes the state doesn't have enough evidence to actually get a win in a high percentage of certainty. So what they will do is that they'll plead it down so they don't necessarily have to go to trial and roll the dice.
And remember, I mean, this is more than 9 months ago, right? So nobody knows whether she was drunk or not. She could just be saying that. Her lawyer could just say, hey, if you say this, then this. Like, this is bullshit. Because again, if you're a woman and the man is drunk, and the woman takes advantage of him in his drunken state and then leaves and decides she didn't like it and wants to press charges, then he's still responsible. So she being drunk isn't responsible. Him being drunk still responsible. Like what? And 13 doesn't matter. This world is fucked.
Nice. He's saying, well, what if the argument could be made that he was 13 and he actually raped her because she was drunk, and since she was drunk, maybe she couldn't give consent, so he actually took advantage of her. These damn criminal defense attorneys, man.
That's the law. That's the law, Lead. And for your listeners and your watchers, I want to remind people about the hurdles that the prosecution is expected to jump over. They have to prove their case beyond all reasonable doubt. That's a very, very high standard. The question is not, did she do it? The question is not, did she take advantage of him? She did. The question is not, should she be punished? She should. The question is, can the DA guarantee that they're going to convince 12 people who don't know anything about law that she is guilty of a crime? Because if they think she probably
cutting out a bit.
I think my man is lost in the matrix. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I think you're
Did you lose
okay.
me?
I think you're Yeah, your Wi-Fi was kind of going in and out. What's the last 15 seconds of what you just said?
I was just saying that the burden of proof for the prosecutor is very high. It's not good enough that they convince the jury that she probably did it. They have to prove that she did it, and there is no reasonable theory other than her guilt. It's a very, very high standard. And if they fall just short of that pole vault, no pun intended, then the law says you must acquit.
Interesting. So what my man is saying is that maybe this isn't such an open and shut case as it appears.
Nah, it's an open and shut case. The problem is that y'all got a bunch of legal bullshit that's set up specifically to block this kind of nonsense, to keep the system going, to keep things like this happening. That's what the issue is, okay? Because again, if the roles are reversed, it wouldn't matter. Alcohol, this, that, blah, blah. We wouldn't be having this conversation. Nobody would care how drunk he is. The dude could have been drugged. He could have been Cardi B, you know what I'm saying? With the thing and the pop it, and they were doing the thing, and then somebody just jumped on, and then wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't matter, right?
Even though you have a 13-year-old boy who impregnated a 31-year-old woman who admitted to being drunk and doing it in her car where, the victim just couldn't give consent. But, there are issues, right? So we're going to get into it. Shout out to Christopher Williams. Thank you so much, Christopher Williams, another huge supporter of me, and not only me, of other content creators as well, and super, super generous. Really one of the premier supporters of all of this male content that we have here on YouTube. So big shout out to Christopher Williams. If everybody could put CW in the chat, CW in the chat. Thank you so much. And here he is again. Welcome back, Lee. Thank you, Christopher Williams. Who else we got in here? We got Pineapple Banana with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Andrea,
I can keep going here.
My pointer. Give me 1 second here. Let's try it.
I'm not trying to keep this up. They're going to be on here for a while, so we'll just listen to the article, and then we're going to call it good.
There we go. So this is our girl, Andrea Serrano, right? Yes, that is a neck tattoo. So
she got two of them.
You already know how we're starting out.
She got one on the other side, too.
Really on both sides.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. So what does it say? Thursday, March 2nd, Colorado woman Andrea Serrano accepted a plea deal after she was found guilty of having a child with a 13-year-old boy. Let me blow this up so y'all can kind of at least act like y'all can see it. All right. She was accused of having inappropriate relations with a teenage boy. Here's the thing. Who reportedly viewed her as a maternal figure. All right, guys. And see, this is where it starts to get sick. All right. Because
we already know. I mean, if he's 13 years old, he's not looking at her like she could be his girlfriend or what. Like, of course, like she's 31. You know what I mean? He's probably seeing 15 and 16-year-old girls in his class, and that, if anything, that's who he's like, and she just took advantage of all that, and then technicalities, man. Because crazy ass ladies, man, getting off on
it's one thing, and we all know, especially the men, all right, you getting trim at 13. It's like there's a part of it, the uncle might be like, all right, pimp, do it. But this is where,
if you a young boy, okay, and you was getting some trim at 13, right? Like, I mean, like a 16-year-old, 17-year-old girl or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I mean, that's still crazy young. 13 is young, although I think I was around that age. But 13 is pretty dang young, okay? But she's, also underage, you know what I mean? And y'all are too, you know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't seem abnormal. 31. If you see a 31-year-old woman with your kid and there's something funky going on, you need to call the cops.
It kind of gets super sad and traumatic because all of you men can kind of think about, okay, what was it like to be 13 and have sex with a woman?